All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome. And right now, I'm going to sample a song into the MPC. And who knows, maybe we'll bring in some vocals into this sequence. We'll probably see how we can build using a reference. Most of my favorite beats are very simple. They're just drums, sample, bass. Sometimes there is no bass. And they just sound so good, especially when there's vocals on top. So hopefully we could put this track together and just bring in some acapellas. Now, do not forget, if you are in need of any audio equipment and you want to support my channel, a very good way to support my channel is by using some of my links to Zounds. If you scroll down, I'll have an affiliate link. It does help out my channel, and also it doesn't cost you anything extra if you would like to support my channel. Also, do not forget, if you guys want to pick up any accessories for your MPCs, check out Analog Cases. They have really good XTS stands which will hold up your MPCs. Also, they have this travel backpack which makes it very easy and convenient if you're looking to travel and take some of your gear with you. For more information on Analog Cases, go down to the description of this video. Let's get right into it. All right, so right here I have a session. I actually have some drums right here in this session at 80 beats per minute. These drums that I have, I'm really digging this pack right here. This is from Wonder Tone. If you guys have not checked out his stuff, I'll leave a link somewhere up here. I just got my hands on some of his sample packs. These sound awesome. So the question that I always get asked is, what drums are you using? What kind of drums, or how are you mixing your drums? I'm not really mixing any drums or EQing, compressing. If you have the right source, if you have the right sounding drums, just chop up your records, start to bring in some one-shots, blend it in with some of your sample-based production. And the way I mix or I blend sounds together is by listening. If I have good sounding drums matching up with sample-based production, the mixing process is very simplified. So right now I have these drums right here on the grid. And since I already have a drum groove going on this sequence, I'm able to jump into my record and start listening and seeing what I can bring in here. As soon as I bring in some samples into my pads, that reference, the drums that I have, I can switch those up later. If I feel like the kick needs to switch a bit, or the hi-hats, the snare, I can do that later. But I like having that reference so I can come up with different ideas in Audition to see if this sample is going to work. So let's jump right into our sampler. I already have the record queued up. I want to go ahead and play it from the start and start sampling in using pad tap. All right, so I have this sample right here. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I think it sounds cool. This intro part, I feel like I can work with something right here. That's why I like to have those drums already on the grid, because it's going to either push me towards a certain direction that I'm gonna just resonate with, or I'm not going to work with the sample and I'll move on to the next one. Ooh, yeah. Okay, all right. So I already know it's gonna work. Just these 4 pads, even if I loop this over and over, it already sounds really, really cool. So actually now I can hit play on my drums and start having some fun. All right. So it's so funny because all it takes is just a few seconds for something to click, and my whole entire energy just switches. It just changes drastically. When I started filming this video, I was kind of trying to get into the vibe or just get into my zone, and just this row with a few of these other pads, combination sparks energy, and now I'm in my zone. So let me bring this down. Let's see if we can pitch this down. my God. Yes, I'm really digging the sound of this. Look, it's so simple. Again, I always mention this. Just keep it very simple. Do not overwhelm yourself. Do not feel like you need to do flips on the MPC to impress people or anything like that. Once I have this, just this right here alone already sounds very powerful. When I think of some of my favorite beats that I always go back to, I pay attention to them and I'm like, why do I love these beats so much? It's not some crazy sample chops that the way they perform there, they're doing something that's over the top impressive. It's very simple, especially bringing in vocals. More often than none, you're probably going to realize that you're overdoing it. So I always talk about sample, drums, and bass. Those are the three main elements. Right now, we just have a sample and drums. Yes, there's a little bit of bass on these pads. But these pads right here, there's no bass right here. They're dried. And whenever I want a little bit of bass to come in, I bring these in. And back to dry. So it's really cool. Now, if we bring in some vocals on top of this, we're going to do that. We're going to listen and see what type of adjustments we can make so the beat does not crash with the vocals. Let's go ahead and record this. I have my foundation. I always talk about this. Just have your foundation of what triggered you from the get-go. Look, I've sampled into my MPC. I wasn't sure if this was going to work or not. I thought this sounds pretty cool, but as soon as I dropped in those drums and I started pressing these pads and started bringing in some different variations every other beat, I'm in love with this. This sounds awesome. Now, and before we even think about a bass line, what key are these pads in? If I jump into this program edit, after I've pitched this up or down, this key detection is going to give me what key that note is on. It's telling me that is an A minor. Now, do not get too caught up on this. Sometimes it could be false. It's not always 100% correct on the key, but at least it gives you a starting point to figure out what key your sample's on. So A minor, I bring in a bass track and I could go in right here to pad perform. I set this at A neutral minor. So now any of these yellow pads will be in key with the sample. At least it should be. If I hit play, we'll listen to this and see how this sounds. Oh yes, okay, I could even pitch this up. That is it. Look, we have 3 tracks. We have our drums, bass, and sample. A sequence is only 4 bars in this sequence, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna double length this, and I don't know how many bars. We're gonna make this a few bars, so this is going to be that we have actually 32 bars. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Before I decide what I want to do right here, let's bring in some a cappella vocals and drop that in so we can kind of have a rough idea of how this beat is sounding. I created a brand new audio track, and from this audio track, just double tap right here and go to browse files, go to samples and get this a cappella. Let's hit do it. And this is actually at 86 beats per minute. So if I hit play, my session was at 80 beats per minute. I'm going to speed up this beat at 86 so it can match with the vocals. And the vocals, I gave myself at least 2 bars of empty space, and then it drops into the beat. So this makes it easy for me because I get a better vision on how the beat could come together. I'm not going to keep the a cappella right here. I'll probably just scratch it off, but it kind of gives me ideas on how I can build up to the drop, or maybe in the middle of the beat or of the verse, I can mute some hi-hats or kicks or drums and start doing some different variations. So if I go into this arranger, I have my whole entire beat that I looped, was at 88 bars, but I was able to, at least the first 2 bars, I just start off with the sample by itself, and then I bring in the hi-hats, and then the whole entire beat drops with the bass. So this is helpful because, again, having vocals on your session, I mean, if you have somebody that can just write a verse or send you vocals and shoot them out to you once you have the main idea of your beat, or let's say the skeleton of your beat, it makes it a lot easier for you to listen to it with vocals, and then you'll have a better understanding of maybe it does need a little bit of a sprinkle on top with some different tracks that I can bring into this, or let's probably just keep it as is. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Oh, and by the way, this is Spanish right here, so I feel like my beats just match Spanish verses a lot better versus something in English. So bear with me if you don't understand Spanish, but it just sounds a lot better right here. I'll go into pad.
Casey yo va vuelto al ejercicio. La primera frase es para los que están desde el inicio. La segunda es para todos los que estabais esperando. Ahora quiero veros celebrando. Saca la botella que tenías preparada y la cosecha seca para la fecha señalada. Suenan los acordes anunciando la llegada del Mesías. Cuando creías que enloquecías, ¿quién estuvo ahí en tus peores momentos? ¿Quién llenó el vacío en los minutos lentos? ¿Quién te acompañó en tus mejores viajes? ¿Quién trae mensajes que hacen que te relajes? ¿Quién puso la música de tu adolescencia? ¿Recuerdas mi ciencia? ¡Qué buena influencia! La música de ahora es la peor de la historia. Fácil para mí brillar entre la escoria. Blandiendo un micro sangriento, voy viendo uno a uno van cayendo. MCs ridículos, público estúpido, impúdico, burdo.
So, all right, so, I'm playing the verse back, and I'm just messing with the track mutes, just dropping out either the bass line or the drums or maybe the sample in certain areas of the verse. Now, if I don't have a guide or a reference or a verse, I think it's a bit tough, or is a little harder knowing where to make some drops. And you're not going to know until you have somebody that you're working with, or if you got somebody that's sending you vocals. Of course, you're not going to add a drop at a random location. You're going to listen to the verse, and wherever it feels like it might need that emphasis, then you drop out certain elements of your beat. Or if I want to add something on top, I'm able to use that as a guideline. Now, I'm right here on the track mutes page just to get ideas. But if I go right here on my main page, I go into this arranger. It makes it really easy to pick and choose different sections of the verse. Let's say,
¿Quién puso la música de tu adolescencia? ¿Recuerdas mi ciencia? ¡Qué buena influencia!
Let's say right there I want to make a drop. It makes it very easy now, you having this arranger right here, because I can see my vocals, and also I can go to my drums, and if I want to make a drop right here with my drums, I could just pinch to zoom, and notice that I have this grid view / arranger, so I have everything within view. Right here, starting at bar 16, all I want to do is just take off snare and kicks, get the selector, delete all these kicks, and also the snare, select the snare, shift, cut, and now it's just the pure hi-hats that are bouncing until the next bar drops. So let's hear how this sounds.
¿Quién puso la música de tu adolescencia? ¿Recuerdas mi ciencia? ¡Qué buena influencia! La música de ahora es la peor de la historia.
Right now, I'm hearing the vocals, and with that reference, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to have like some type of effects synth where it just kind of swirls up and then it goes back to the next verse. So now, I mean, I wouldn't have thought of bringing in a synthesizer on top of this, like a lead synth, to just sprinkle some icing on top of this. But it helps me using a vocal as a reference. We could even drop out the bass in that same bar. If I select the bass, we zoom in right here.
¿Quién puso la música de
Select those two bass notes, cut, let's hear that.
¿Quién puso la música de tu adolescencia? ¿Recuerdas mi ciencia? ¡Qué buena influencia! La música de ahora es la peor de la historia. Fácil para mí brillar entre la escoria.
So it's awesome to use some type of guidance. Like me, I don't have anybody, or me, I don't write any lyrics, so I cannot put anything on top of my beats. But if I could go and just grab some acapellas and put it on top of my beat and just use that as a guidance, right here, I just mute the vocals, but at least I have a good sounding beat that I can mix down and export. Do not forget, I do have a course on the MPC that I take you from start to finish, just building a beat. We keep it very simple, and I take my time to explain how I sample into the MPC, how I chop up my samples, sequence, arrange, finally mix and master my beat. Everything, you'll find it right there in the course. It is based on the 3.0 software and also on the 2.0. So if you feel a little lost and you need extra help, my biggest recommendation, go through my videos first. There's a lot of free content out here on YouTube, but if you're somebody that does not have that time and just like, man, you know what, I cannot surf around and spend days looking for what I need on the MPC, go ahead and join me on that course. You could make payments as you start learning today. More information on that, link down in the description. Without me really thinking about like, hey, there's only 3 elements on this. There's sample, drums, and bass. The reason why I feel like I say sample, drums, and bass a lot is because when we're using samples, a lot of the times those sample chops have strings, guitars, a little bit of bass. So there's a lot of elements in one track, so it does not sound too dry. But what I've ran into is I'm using a sample that I chopped up. There's strings, there's guitars, maybe there's keys, and I look at it as one track. And then I try to add keys on top of that, and then it's just crashing a little too much. So a lot of the times is knowing when not to keep adding on top of what we have, especially when we're using samples, different elements within that sample that we chopped up. It could get a little stuffed. But if you're listening to it with some vocals on top of that, and the vocals is the priority, and you're not just trying to make a cool sounding beat, then that really does help out a lot just to tame down what we keep adding to our beats. Look, this was really fun for me. I want to continue and probably build more tracks using vocals as a priority or as a reference. I don't have lyrics that I write, and I do not rap, so it's not easy for me just to write something and record something right here on the sequence. But just grabbing some acapellas and bringing them over and start building beats on top of that, maybe that's something that I will get into on the next few videos, because it does switch out the vibe that we're listening to once we have those vocals or that reference. It makes a big difference. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, watching this video. I truly have, like, this is honestly one of my favorite beats that I've made. It's funny because sometimes my favorite beats, other people don't really connect with them. And some of the beats that I don't like, everybody connects with them. And they're like, yo, that's one of my favorite beats that you've made. I'm like, I didn't like that one at all. So for me, this is something that I'm truly, truly in love with. So I'm going to export this beat, mix it up, master it, and most likely I want to share this with you guys, just a full-on mixed beat. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch y'all on our next one. Peace.
Tarde.